Welcome to our CentOS demonstration. I'm going to show you how to find the CentOS distribution, how to download it. We'll compare the hash values like we did in the Ubuntu demonstration. Then we'll install it. It's a little bit trickier than Ubuntu installation, but we'll get through there. So all I do is, let me go to this, yeah. We'll zoom in, we'll go to Google. And we will type CentOS and click on download. Now I've downloaded this already, but let's check that again. So we want the 64-bit version because we're running Windows 10 and 11. Okay, click on that. Now I've got different mirrors. You can choose any one that you like. Now this is interesting here up here. Oops. Okay, you can download it as a torrent. And remember, torrent is a legal, legal way of doing this. If you're using it for legitimate purposes, you can download illegal stuff, which I don't recommend. It opens up to malware and other types of attack. But for this purpose, that's a perfectly legitimate way of downloading it through a torrent browser. But we're going to download this one here. It's the full version. It has pretty much most of the things you need. If you want to go crazy and download everything that CentOS has to offer, go for it. But I downloaded that one at the top there. This one here. So it will. I've already downloaded this, so I'm not going to do it again. But you can download it and put it into a file, into an area you want. Now, the really cool thing about this is it will have our SHA value, our hashing value. So what I'm going to do is, because I've downloaded this already, I'm going to hash the ISO that I downloaded, and I'm going to compare to this value already. Now, I have done this already, but I'm going to show you anyway. I already know that the value is the same. Okay, I already know that, but we'll demonstrate it to you. You can use, that's the command there. You can pause and copy that down. But that's how you get, so I'm going to open PowerShell. I'm going to run this command in the folder where I've downloaded CentOS. Now, I've done this already. I've gone into virtual machines, which is where my folder is. Okay. And I'm going to run that hash. And that'll come back with that hash value. Okay. So that's how you can compare it on yours as well. Again, I've already done this and I know that it's the same. I usually like to look at the last 4 values, maybe the first 4 values to check that out. Okay, so remember our CIA, our not the secret American stuff. I'm talking about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is our encryption stuff. Integrity. This is what we're doing here. We're looking at the integrity of the file that we've done. It's really important in cybersecurity. I want to know and I want to confirm that what I'm downloading is genuine, is what it should be, what it's intending, what the intention of CentOS is. If a malicious attacker along the way grabs that ISO, inserts some malicious code into it, how do I know if something happened? Well, the hash value is a unique fingerprint that CentOS, the creators, the people who compiled this ISO file, they've done the hash value before they send it to us. They've got one value which is at the top here. So that's the value that CentOS has given us before we download the file. When I get the file, I'm going to run my own hash on my side, and it's the same. Don't worry about the capital letters or the small letters. It's the same. So, like for example, A. So this is hexadecimal. So the hexadecimal value of A is 10. it's small letter or a big letter. It's the same. It's the same. There's no capital letters or small letters in hexadecimal. So just ignore the capital letters there. All right, so now that I'm happy with the integrity of the file, let's go into VirtualBox and let's add or create a new virtual machine. This is going to be CentOS. Just a little bit of a warning. This is a bit different than Ubuntu. Ubuntu is much easier, much streamlines. I'm going to please remind me if I didn't do this. I'm going to show you a website to help you do this step by step. If you don't want to watch the video and do it at the same time, there's a step by step guide. I'll post you a link. So let's go to that name. I'm going to call it CentOS Desktop. Give it a nice name. I'm going to select. I'll zoom in a second to show what I've done. I'm going to select the ISO image, which is CentOS. So let's zoom in, I'll show you what it is. So that's that file I downloaded. And it automatically picks up as Red Hat. Now, CentOS is based on Red Hat. Red Hat is an enterprise edition of Linux OS. Linux operating of the kernel, right? Of the Linux kernel. They ask you to pay them money, whereas CentOS doesn't. So they're the same flavor, but they're not exactly the same. It used to be the same. CentOS used to be exactly like Red Hat. But there's some differences now. If you want to learn Red Hat, you can start with CentOS, and that will give you an introduction. It'll help you learn that style, that flavor of Linux. You have Ubuntu, which we've done already, which is a Debian-based kernel, or operating system, Linux distribution. So there's Debian, and there's Red Hat. There are others as well, but they're the two big ones. So if you want to become a network administrator in Linux, Red Hat is the way to go. It's very popular in enterprises. But you need to pay for this. If you want Red Hat, you pay for it. Having said that, you can download Red Hat and play around with it. But if you ever need anything, you're supposed to pay for it. It's unique. It's something that's really different in Linux environment. Usually it's just flat out free. But they give you support. This is for enterprises, bigger corporations. So username. Now I tried this before when I was testing this, and for some reason it just ignored my username. But I'll do it anyway. I'll put Harry, and I'll just put password. Very secure password there. I think I spelled it incorrectly there. Let's fix that. I'll probably have to add another one anyway. Password. Oh, what's wrong with me today? Typing skills terrible today. Alright, we got there in the end. Okay. CentOS is the host name. Let's just have a look there. If you've got a Microsoft domain, you can actually attach to the domain nowadays, which is new. Microsoft didn't really get along well with Linux. They were fearing of it, but now they've embraced it. So interesting. Hardware. I've got a lot of RAM on my computer, so I'm going to increase that to maybe to 4 gigs. And processor, I'm just going to use the one. Now, you'll notice down here it's got 16 CPUs. I don't have 16 CPUs on my machine. I only have the one CPU, but then it's divided into 4 cores, C-O-R-E, cores. Each core has, I think, 2 hyper-threading, means it can do processes at the same time. So I'm selecting one CPU. It's the one hyper-thread of the one core in my CPU. Go to your A+, CompTIA A+ certification exam. You can find more information there. I can explain it more if anyone wants to know. So I don't have 16 CPUs. I've only got the one that's divided into 4 cores. And each core has 2 hyperthreads, I think. So what that's 1 divided, so that's 4 cores. No, 4 hyperthreads in each one. So each core has 4 hyperthreads. Anyway, let's finish that, and now we're powered off. Okay, now it failed to run. Again, CentOS is a little bit messier than Ubuntu. Let's run this though. We'll fix this issue. So I'm starting that now. I'm powering up. And now I'll expand this. Notice how we're not getting a very good view here. I'm just going to escape that for now. I'll go to view up here and go to scaled mode so that it'll resize it for me. Now the problem is it's not booting from the ISO. I definitely asked it to, but it didn't. So we'll have to restart that. Now your mouse will get stuck into this virtual machine, which we didn't encounter in Ubuntu, but it is here. So I'm going to press Alt and right control, and I'll get control of the mouse. I'm going to close that, and I'll power it off, okay? It's a bit annoying. Let's start it again. So we're going to start that again. It won't find that ISO, but I'm going to ask it to now. Okay, so here, we're going to ask it to go and grab that ISO. It's a bit annoying. You might not get it on your screen, but I'm going to direct it to CentOS. I'm going to mount it and try again. And now we'll get that up and running. Okay, we're going to install it. Already you notice that it's different than Ubuntu. It's a different version of Linux. This is going to just run through its thing. Can you sense that it's more sort of tech geeky kind of setup, a lot more than Ubuntu. Yeah, so this is good. This is why I'm showing you 2 different versions, different flavors of installing Linux. We'll do one on Kali Linux. Again, Kali Linux is even more technically geeky, nerdy kind of way of installing Linux. I'm going to pause. This will take a while. I'll be back when I get control over the installation again. Okay, so now it's doing its thing. It's going through some more spiel, I guess, or just blurting stuff out. Okay. Notice it's different than Ubuntu again. Ubuntu is really clever. It figures things out, like where I'm located, the language. We've got to do this on CentOS. Now, when I click the mouse, it doesn't like my mouse. So I'll try to select capture, but this mouse is just not working for me. I can't use the mouse. So what we need to do is we'll need to tab. Okay. There's probably a way to figure this out, but this is good. This is a good way of just a different way of doing things. All right, so I'm going to tab into, and I do know that, okay, I know that it's a bit hard to see, but if you tab your way, you can tab gets you to the next one. Hang on, I'm going to press Alt Control because this bar on the right is driving me crazy. I want to get rid of it. So Control right. I'm losing control of my mouse completely. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this bar on the right. It's just driving me annoying. This is really getting annoying me. I'm just going to move my face a bit on the other side so you can see the continue button there. Okay, so again, we're going back into the virtual machine and let's tab. Okay, English, Australia. Tab again until we get to continue. All right, so now again, a little bit nerdy, a little bit more IT. Remember, we're in IT now, so we should be on top of this kind of stuff. Okay, so again, the mouse is not being nice, so we have to tab again. Let's go into date and time. I'm in the right time zone. Okay. All right. The mouse is being weird. So I'm going to try. Oops. Let's try that again. I was in the right area. We're definitely not in Antarctica. Let's try that again. I'm not in Adelaide. I'm in Melbourne. You shouldn't have to do this. I accidentally typed Antarctica. You can. There we go. All right. I'm gonna tab my way to done. Gotta go back again. It's really frustrating if you don't have a mouse, right? Okay, I'm back up to done. Awesome. Keyboard, I'm happy to leave this keyboard. English, I'm happy to leave it. But tab to software, we're going to need this part. Really, really important. Okay, so we're going to leave auto detect for installation method. This is our ISO that we downloaded, but we need to download some things here. We need to select some software. In particular, we need the desktop itself, like GNOME, things like that. So, okay. My mouse isn't really a problem. Let's add a new repository. I'm just going to pause for 1 second. Okay, let's cancel this one. We don't want to do a new repository. We're actually going to actually jump out, but we're going to select our installation source. So this is our ISO, and it's just verifying that media. Just verifying that to make sure that the media is good. And then what we'll do is we'll go to done, and then we'll do a software selection. So we're just confirming our installation source, which is our ISO that we downloaded. Then we'll go into software selection. It's a complicated procedure. It's a little bit annoying. But that's CentOS, a way of doing things. Whereas Ubuntu just goes blah. Now, when we can do a minimum installation where it's just graphical user interface, we can make it into we can turn it into a specific server. Excuse me. Or we could just have the GNOME desktop or a KDE Plasma works. But let's go to done. And let's get out of here by tabbing. Done. Now let's select our software. Awesome. Now if I just click on done, it will go into minimal install, and that's just the graphical user interface. We don't want that. We want to select. Do we want to go for GNOME or KDE? Let's just do GNOME. We want this to be a desktop, like Windows 11. We're just getting used to things. We don't want to do anything else fancy yet. Okay. So GNOME desktop. Yep. We'll press tab. Have you noticed how different this is than Ubuntu? I'm going to select a set of commonly used GNOME applications. So GNOME is like Windows 10, like Mac OS, like the, not OS, sorry, I forgot the term that Mac uses. This is our GUI. This is what we're, point and click stuff. So GNOME is a flavor of that. So Linux is operating system, GNOME is on top of that. GNOME allows us to interact with the Linux kernel. I might select things like internet applications, Office Suite, productivity. Yeah, no, we don't need it. We don't really need anything else. Development tools, if you want to do create apps, make your own apps, then do that. But I just want some normal, some common GNOME applications, etc., etc. So let's tab all the way down. Okay, I know it's really hard, but eventually we got to done. Okay. It's hard to see this. Installation destination. Make sure you get a tick there. I know it's probably hard to see. ATA VirtualBox hard disk. It's really important. You need to confirm this by selecting enter for done. And I believe we're ready to install. I can't see that what's underneath there, but begin installation. Okay, what we couldn't see below was the root password and user creation. So it's still installing in the background, but let's tab to get to the root password, and I'll just and it has to be complex, so it can't be just password like we did before. Okay, that's the root password. So tab all the way to done. So then we're going to create a user. So I'm going to call it Harry. That's my username. I'm not going to make it as administrator. Okay. The reason why we have a root user account and a user, a normal user like H08, which is me, you log in with your normal user account. When you need to elevate your privileges to do things like, say, for example, you want to change your IP address, you need within that configuration that you're doing it, it will say you don't have enough rights to do this as a normal user. But in that same command line, I can type a command that gives me elevated privileges, so I can do the job there. Never ever make your everyday user account, the same in Windows, in Mac, in Linux. Always create a user account, even if you are an admin. Just create your own user account, and when you need to do configuration, when you need to do some security, elevate your privileges only when you need it. This is a really critical part of cybersecurity. So I'm going to create a password for my user account. Done. And it's going to set this up in the background. Okay. So the root user is like administrator in Windows, in the Windows world. Administrator. Root user is that all-powerful Godzilla mode, I call it. I like to call it Godzilla mode in Linux, in the Linux world. And this comes back from the old Unix days. So it's installing everything. It's installing GNOME, which is the graphical user interface. It's installing some popular apps, the popular GNOME apps, and libraries and stuff like that. So we're just going to wait for this now. I'm not sure how long this takes. I might pause. So I'm going to press Alt, right Control to get out of that, and I'm going to press pause on this video. We'll be back shortly. So just a bit of an update. It's taking a little bit of time because it's installing the GUI. Seems to take a little bit longer than Ubuntu as well. So I'm hoping it won't take too much longer, but thanks to the magic of live pause, you don't have to wait as long as I do. But expect to take about all up, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. Linux usually had the reputation of being quicker than Windows. Windows is actually really quick. Windows 10 and 11 is much faster than it used to be. I remember back Windows 95, 98, it took ages. You had to put CDs and then later on DVDs. But Linux used to be much faster, but it's taking a little bit longer than I'm thinking. I even gave it plenty of RAM as well. Interesting. but hopefully not too much longer. I'm going to press pause again, and hopefully I'll be back. Well, I'll definitely be back shorter on your screens, but for me, this is taking an eternity. So back shortly. Okay, at long last, it's completed. So let's reboot. And yeah, I've got to get this. Figure out how to get this mouse working. So we're going to reboot. Maybe tab a couple of times. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to reboot, and then we're going to see this matrix kind of stuff coming up now. And hopefully we'll get. Okay, here we've got a boot process. Back in the old days, we didn't have virtual machines. We just had a physical box that we had to install multiple operating systems on, and we needed a boot manager. So I remember when I first learned Linux in the late 90s, I had Windows 98 and Linux on top of it. So I used a Linux boot program or software, if you like, and I got it selected. I could put. We had Mandrake back in those days. We had all this. I had all these fancy Linux operating systems, and I got a choice of to select one. But anyway, license. Okay, I've got to accept the licensing. Just tab again. I accept the license agreement. It's open source. I mean, it's not as strict as Microsoft's licensing agreement or Mac. I'm going to tab again. Remember, the tab button's your friend. Finish connection. I hope the mouse works on your machine, but for some reason it's just not for mine. Okay, awesome. So let's go in and come on, mouse. All right, password. Tab until I get to sign in. GNOME or GNOME Classic, I don't really care, to be honest. Just press enter on that one, and hopefully I'll be able to get into the GNOME GUI. Yep, looks a bit weird, right? Looks different than what we're used to. And again, the mouse is just not setting up for me. I might have a theory on this because it looks like it gets stuck onto one corner there. I'm going to press pause. I think I might have a theory on this. Press pause. Okay, I figured it out, and it is a very unusual fix. It is really weird. Okay, so I've got the mouse working. Let's finish what we're doing. Actually, you know what? What we'll do is I'll power this down. So you have to shut this machine down to fix this. So we'll shut it. Actually, 1 second. I better change that to English. Okay, so shut it down. This is a really strange fix, actually. It's being annoying. Looks like we'll have to go through, finish this off first. Skip all this. Okay. It's all in French for some reason. We'll have to restart. Anyone knows French? CentOS is frustrating when you're beginning with it. All right, let's we'll just power off the machine. Shouldn't do this really, but yes, it's a bit frustrating. But once you get used to it, it's a bit better. I don't use it a lot personally, but to get control over the mouse it's really weird. So you're gonna have to right click here and go to settings and come to system. So system, and then get this now. pointing device. Now the default was PS2 mouse, and that's not working. You actually have to click on USB tablets. Really weird, right? So let's select OK, and then fire up CentOS, and we'll get those. We'll continue to get those error messages. That's okay. Get rid of that. Hopefully, I mean, it should work. Hopefully, we get English instead of French. I'm not sure about you, but I failed my French. I think I did it in Year 7. I did a little bit of it and I didn't do very well. Now I'm regretting. Okay, mouse looks good. Let's click sign in. Mouse is looking good now. Don't you love this? By the way, this is a VirtualBox issue. If you were running things like Hyper-V or VMware, you don't run into these kind of problems. Okay, this is looking good. Looking like we've got English. All right, so now what we want to do is go into applications, like the menu. Different than Ubuntu. Ubuntu is more, a little bit more prettier, right? A little bit more nicer. Accessories. We want the terminal. There it is. Assistant tools, terminal, and there it is. There we go. Oops, not found. I forgot my links coming. Oh, there we go. Here. Okay. List. And what's the other one? What's another one we can try? And we can play around with all different types of commands. That's about it, I think. What else? Maybe we'll just do vi create files and stuff like that. We'll do a little bit of play around with this a little bit shortly, but that is it. We got there in the end. It's painful, but now we've got it up and running. We've got CentOS, and CentOS is different than Ubuntu, as you can see. A little bit more work involved, but it is Red Hat kind of feeling. And if you want to work in an environment where they have Red Hat, then do this here. The next one is Kali Linux, which is even trickier than CentOS. Okay, we'll have fun when we get there. Thanks for your patience today. I'm not editing any of this. I don't want to be perfect. I want to show you little errors and mistakes and the little and learning how to fix it. Some advice when you're doing IT or cybersecurity: nothing ever goes according to plan. I guarantee you that. And you just play around with it. You just find your way through. You go to Google, you go to ChatGPT these days, you use all the experience and knowledge you have, and you get yourself through it, and that's what I've done today. Okay, thank you for watching, and looking forward to seeing you all in the Kali Linux installation. Okay, thanks and have a great day. Take care.